Okay, you read the title, you know exactly what's going on here, but this is going to be specifically Australian camera retailers or shops that sell camera equipment. I've got some obscure ones on there, I've got some overseas ones, I've got B&H and Amazon, basically just anywhere that you can buy camera equipment as an Australian. And I should say, these are only places that I have bought from or dealt with directly myself. I can't comment on what I haven't had experience with. Okay, first one on the list, I'm gonna go backwards here. First one on the list is JB HiFi. JB HiFi, hit and miss. I find they are really expensive off the shelf. Like if you just walk in and look at the prices on the ticket, it's crazy, but they do price match, and JB HiFi are everywhere. They are very easy. It's very easy to find one close to you, and for that reason I'd put JB HiFi in between A and B tier. I'm gonna say B tier for convenience, but not A tier because the staff tend to not have any idea what they're talking about in terms of camera gear. That's not a slight on the staff. They're just not photographers. They're retail employees and they're not specialists, so they don't really know what they're talking about. And in my experience, a lot of JB HiFi staff don't really want to be there. Again, not a dig on the staff. It's just the system. That's just how it is. Okay, next one is Camera Pro. In my opinion, I think Camera Pro is the best Australian retailer. I'm going to put that in S tier. And I'm putting that there because I've bought a lot of gear in the last 12 months from Camera Pro. I reckon 4 or 5 sort of major things recently. And they've almost always had the best price available. They've had outstanding customer service. There was one time where something they didn't have it in stock and they let me know straight away, and then I went to go and organize something else, and while I was trying to organize it from somewhere else, the actual item arrived at my door basically. So their customer service is super good. I've also had to organize a refund for them, and they assign a person to your case. They reply really quickly. Their prices are excellent. I think they're in New South Wales and in Brisbane, and their online store also looks really good. So Camera Pro is, in my opinion, up there with the best, probably the best in Australia. DigiDirect, I'd probably put that with JB HiFi. They have much better obviously industry knowledge. They're sort of trained in the camera equipment, but and I will say they generally have really good prices. Between Camera Pro and DigiDirect, I'd say both of those guys have very competitive prices, especially online, but DigiDirect never have anything in stock. And if you buy from them, it doesn't say that on the website generally. If you buy from them, you'll get an email saying that the product is on back order with the supplier, and in my opinion it can take like 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks sometimes to get what you need. And I've bought from DigiDirect many times in the past, and a couple of times I've actually just refunded it and said forget about it. Even though they have the best price, I'd much rather not wait 2 weeks, a month, plus to get what I need. If I'm going to order it, I want it now, so I'm happy to pay 5% more somewhere else to get it quicker. Ted's camera. Ted's is probably the biggest camera retailer in Australia. I'm trying to work out where to put Ted's. I would probably have put Ted's in D tier up until recently. I've bought from Ted's many times, but I've never really had a good experience. In my opinion, it seems to be the old grey-haired guys working in Ted's that when you walk in, I've always felt like they talk down to you a little bit. I've always felt like there's a little bit of a superiority complex. Now, I can't talk for every single Ted's, but the ones that I've shopped at in the past have been like this. Although I have to say, I recently had a really good experience with Ted's Chadstone. And the manager there, shout out to Andrew, he went above and beyond to try and sort something out for me when I was ordering my Fuji camera before Christmas. Really busy time, really hard to get this product it was like a few days before Christmas, and he went above and beyond to try and find one for me and to try and find one in the color I wanted. It didn't work out in the end, but he really went the extra mile, and he honestly has lifted my perception of Teds. Because yeah, in the past my experiences haven't always been good, but he went above and beyond when he didn't have to, and I really appreciate that. So I'm going to put Teds in C tier. In my opinion, they are some of the most expensive for prices. I don't know if they price match. I should probably check that. I think they probably do. I think a lot of them probably would. But yeah, I've had some bad experiences and recently a really good experience with Teds. So I'd put it between C and B. I'd probably leave it at C for now. Vanbar. Vanbar's like a bit of a specialty one. I think I would put them in A tier. I think they're one of the few remaining sort of independent smaller guys. They also have a film lab, which is really good. I think their range is excellent, and as far as I know, I think I've been in the shop maybe 4 or 5 times, and although I haven't had an outstanding in-store experience, you generally have to wait a while, but I guess there's just not that many staff, and I recently had to pick something up for work and I found them to be a little bit impatient with me, but again, they're probably just understaffed. I think their range is excellent. I love that they're a local, traditional mum and pop brick and mortar. They have excellent range. They've got the lab, and yeah, I just wish there were more of these around. The one thing I will say about Vanbar is the last time I went in there, just the shop vibe was very awkward. There was no music playing in the store, and it's such a little thing, but it just felt a little bit awkward to be in there. And I don't mind having to wait, so long as the service is good. Yeah, they didn't have to do too much for me. I'm yet to be wowed, but I really like them as an organization, and I like what they're about, and I'm glad to see there are still some of these kicking around. George's, I would put George's in A tier as well. They're like somewhere in between, like one of the bigger retailers and a mum and pop store. I don't know if there's multiple sites. I know they're based in Sydney. I know they're on George Street in Sydney. I don't think I've actually been into the shop, but I've ordered online from them quite a few times, and their prices are always competitive. They ship pretty quickly, and as far as I know, yeah, they're just not the sort of big corporation that like something like Ted's or like a DigiDirect are. And I also like that I don't know if they still do, but they used to make content on YouTube and do their own reviews, and I think that's really cool for a company like this, and they're taking initiative. And yeah, I like George's. I actually rate George's. I'll put them in A tier. Michael's, I would probably put Michael's on the same tier as Ted's. Yeah, I'll put them on the same tier as Ted's, only because for a similar reason, whenever I used to go to Michael's when I was a new photographer, I used to walk in and I just used to feel a little bit belittled. Again, it was all older guys working in there, and I get that these are all sort of like, they've probably been around in the industry for ages. They're probably a little bit cynical, and they're in sales, so it's their job to add on the twin lens kit and the UV filter and all this stuff. But I never felt valued when I walked into Michael's. This is just my experience. I used to go in there all the time as I reckon probably like 19, 20, 21. I used to go in there, and I will say their range was quite good, much better than Ted's, and they also had really good film. They had old film cameras, they had film in stock, and a lab where you could develop and get a sensor cleaned and service and all that stuff. So I would put Ted's, that's what keeps me from putting Ted's lower, but I never had great service in there, so that's what stops me from putting them higher. So I'm pretty comfortable with them in C tier. eBay is a funny one. I wouldn't really buy big important things on eBay, but I would happily, and I do, buy all of my bits and pieces from eBay, just little cheap, especially like just little bits of grip and just adapters, brackets, just things that don't need a brand. You don't need to spend the big money, and generally you can find someone in Australia selling it, and you can get it pretty quick and for the best price. So I'd put eBay in like B tier, maybe A. I wouldn't put it in A because I wouldn't trust it with big purchases, but for the little stuff, excellent, very quick, very cheap. Love eBay. Amazon also, I would traditionally rate Amazon quite low because I think Amazon Australia just hasn't quite caught up to the rest of the world yet. When I was in America, I ordered a few things from Amazon and they came so quickly, and the prices are just amazing. I suppose just economies of scale, and they have warehouses everywhere, and it's just established. It's been running for 20 years or something in America. So in Australia, it's got a little way to go. I have to say, recently I have bought a few bits of gear from Amazon, and the prices have gotten more competitive, and generally if you pay a bit more you can get it next day. Otherwise it comes in a couple of days. I actually would put Amazon in A tier. Sorry, I know that's a bit hard to see. I'll put it in between these two so you can see it a bit better. I'd still put Amazon in A tier. The only thing stopping it from being S tier is that you don't have the personal sort of customer service, and they don't quite have the range of products that they have overseas here in Australia. And I think the pricing, it's hit and miss. Sometimes it's really good, and sometimes, I guess, depending on availability, you can just get stuff much cheaper from Camera Pro or DigiDirect or one of the others. Now the next two, Video Guys and Video Pro, I'd put them on about the same level. I've bought from both of them at least twice, maybe a couple more times. Video Pro particularly I was dealing with during the first year of COVID in 2020, and we had to order a bunch of gear for work, and I remember being able to actually get someone on the phone and sort of negotiate a little bit and say, look, this is what we want to spend, this is what we've got, we want to get this, this, this and this. And he said, yep, no worries, I can do this price, this price, this price, this price. And he didn't muck around, he didn't try and upsell me. He was efficient, straight to the point, sent it all through, sent a quote through in the email, and we got the gear pretty quickly. So I had a really good experience with Video Pro. I'd put them in A tier, I think. Video Guys as well, I've bought some stuff from. I don't think I've had it. I've definitely bought from them 2 or 3 times. I like that they're local to me. They're within a 25-30 minute drive, and I think less so on the camera gear side of things, but definitely in terms of the actual the range for the video gear, in terms of all the little connectors and bits and pieces. I think they're really good, and I can't comment too much on the service. I can't say I've been in there and asked a bunch of questions to the guys, but I'd put them between B and C tier. Sorry, B and A. I'd probably keep them with Video Pro. Tech Art, this is such a random one. I don't know if anyone else has used these guys. They're in Melbourne. I think they're in Northcote or one of those suburbs in the inner north. And I've recently bought some gear from them, some light stands, some super clamps, just general bits and pieces of grip. And I have to say, they have been so good. Their customer service is amazing. I had a few questions that I had to email them and ask them, and they about their products and whether they rebranded them from another brand. They were honest, upfront, and they do flat rate shipping, which I really like, with a courier, which means basically you buy whatever and you pay a flat rate, and it's not going to be any more expensive. So essentially you can fill up your cart with things, and it's going to be quick and it's going to be cheap considering. And I buy all of the important grip, all of the stuff that I want to last, I buy from these guys. And I've bought some lighting stuff from them as well. I really like them. Again, small business. They deliver really quick, and I'm going to put them in A tier for that reason. Sorry, I know it's kind of hard to read on the black background. That's what their logo looks like. I should have put a white background on it. Anyway, Arrowhand Photo. This is another small local one. particularly in the last 5 years when Godoc's products were less readily available, when you couldn't really just walk into a shop and buy lights or strobes or LEDs or whatever. These guys, in my opinion, were the best, and I think it's so important to have someone local to talk to about this gear, because if something goes wrong, you don't want to be trying to deal, over email to someone overseas in China with a language barrier, and you have to send something away and it's going to take a month or two. So I bought from these guys many times, definitely 3, 4, 5 years ago. I was a regular customer. They also sell paper rolls and like light stands and stuff, and it's really cool to know that someone has these sort of Chinese brands and Chinese products locally, although they are more readily available now. I think their prices aren't as competitive as they used to be. Their prices are generally quite good. They have an eBay store, and I've bought from their eBay store as well. I think the quality of their products is not always outstanding by no fault of their own, but I really like Arahan, and I would definitely put them on the same tier as some of these other ones. I would put them on par with DigiDirect. Less range, better service, product not quite as good. That's not their fault, but yeah, I rate these guys. Gorilla Film Gear, I would put on the same tier. Again, they're another small one, I think based out of Tullamarine in the western suburbs. Similar to Tech Art, just with a much smaller range. If you just want little bits and pieces of grip, adapters, filters, what else? Lens hoods, just general little bits and pieces. I think they're excellent. Customer service is excellent. And yeah, they were kind enough to send me a few bits and pieces to have in one of my recent videos. So I've only ever had really good dealings with Gorilla Film Gear. And if you're local and you want someone to talk to, and you want access to particularly the Chinese branded gear or the off-brand gear, Gorilla Film Gear, I really rate them, and I reckon you should check them out because they're one of the little guys. Last one is B&H. As bizarre as it is to have B&H on this list, I've got to put them in the S tier, and it's actually crazy to me that B&H in New York, obviously they have the best range out of anyone, right? Or out of anyone that I've seen. Definitely out of any of the companies that we can access here. I have to say, it is annoying. It's not their fault. It's the Australian government's fault. But now we pay tax on stuff that we bring in from overseas. So B&H has gotten a little bit less good because of that. But like I said, the range is unbeatable. And the fact that these guys are in New York and they can pack and ship, and you can get stuff, you can get a big box of stuff from B&H as cheap or cheaper sometimes than you can to get it from a local retailer, and you get it quicker and it comes from New York. That's pretty amazing if you ask me. So they're somewhere between A and S, I would have to say. They're somewhere between A and S tier, I would have to say, if we didn't have to pay the GST tax on the stuff coming in. They would be number one on this list before Camera Pro. But yeah, it's a little bit inconvenient, but the fact that they're still good than 90% of the retailers in Australia, they're still going to go in the S tier. I really rate them. They're excellent. Okay, thank you so much for watching. How did I do with this list? Does it compare? Does it stack up to your expectations? Have you had any different experiences with any of these retailers? Is there anyone that I missed out that I could have included that deserves an honorable mention? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.